People enter a self-management program only to be placed in a pit designed to force them to give up their humanity to survive. As a group of children take turns on a pyramid-like slide, numerous adults apply into the vertical self-management center. They're given a choice of one food item that they'll be served daily and one item they can bring during their stay. Zamyatin demands pizza, warning his assessor that he tried to kill his parents by fire, asserting that he'll be violent if he doesn't get his way. On his first day, Zamyatin ends up in level 24 with Perimpuan. In their vertical tower, the platform descends daily to deliver their meals. However, someone's eaten all the meat from Zamyatin's pizza. The residents above blame this on someone from level 21. With no choice, the large man chooses some chicken from the table. However, Robespierre and his companion from level 23 remind him that they are only supposed to eat the meal they requested or swap meals with another resident. They also promise to settle the issue with a man in 21, asking him not to behave like a barbarian who eats anything he wants. Robespierre declares that they're loyalists to the law of the tower, ensuring that every resident gets their meal. However, they need everyone's support. If Zamyatin eats the chicken, then the person who owns it would eat someone else's dish as well. The cycle will continue, leaving people on the bottom with nothing. As a compromise, Perimpuan gives him one of her croquettes. Finally, the man relents and returns the chicken. Robespierre then warns him to eat within his allotted time, since if they keep food after the platform descends, they'll be punished. Zamyatin asserts that the man who ate his meal should be punished, but Robespierre clarifies that eating only their meal is not a law that the administration implements. They just have to follow that rule, so when they switch cells next month and end up at a lower level, they'll still get their meal. Finally, the platform descends, and as she watches it, Perimpuan recalls her interview. She admitted that her favorite meal was the ham croquettes her ex used to make. When asked why she was signing up for the tower, she claimed that it was to forget what she did. Later in the present, the lights turn red and the residents from below start shouting the number 44. Robespierre explains that this means that their communication has been cut off at level 44, so they're not sure if the food was distributed fairly from there and below. With 333 levels, this can spell disaster. He then assures Zamyatin that levels 19 and 20 residents will descend to 21 to defend his meal tomorrow. Residents from 42 and 43 will also descend to 44 and below to ensure that everyone eats their meals only. Just then, the platform rises at top speed, surprising the newcomers. With the situation dawning on him, Zamyatin recalls when his assessor clarified that he actually hesitated in killing his parents and instead burned his autobiography in the trash. Still, Zamyatin declared that he was sent to the tower because they were afraid of him. The next day, the residents hear a fight at level 21. As the platform descends to 22, the residents also get involved in the battle. Robespierre reminds the 24 residents that if they can't stop this fight, they have to defend the platform as well. Suddenly scared, Zamyatin asserts that he didn't go there to fight, even forgiving the man who ate his pizza. Despite this, Robespierre's companion orders them to break their bed frames to use the bars as weapons. The platform then descends to 23 where the fight continues. Panicked, Perimpuan starts breaking her bed while Zamyatin freezes. Finally, the platform descends to them with the meals ruined from the fight. Robespierre and his enemy then fall onto the platform while his companion desperately shoves the spilled food from their floor back below. However, her floor level starts to heat up as punishment for accidentally keeping the food there. She's soon set on fire and falls to the platform. Perimpuan tries to put out the flames while Robespierre continues the fight. All the while, Zamyatin stands in shock. With the woman from 23 dead, Perimpuan defends Robespierre from his attacker. However, the platform descends, so he orders them to get rid of the spilled food to avoid punishment. Their floor starts getting colder to freeze them, but soon things normalize as they've spilled all the food back. Robespierre then ties up the unconscious man from 21, asserting that because of his greed, no one will eat today. He uses this as an example of why they need to maintain order, but Zamyatin argues that all this chaos was because of their system. Robespierre still insists on maintaining order, but when Perimpuan announces that his companion's dead, he lashes out at the man from 21. Pitying him, Zamyatin acknowledges that their guest was brave. However, Robespierre grabs his throat, angered by the feud he caused. After calming down, Robespierre decides to descend with 21 to find an anointed one tomorrow. He explains that the anointed ones are those who've met the master and are applying his law. The master's someone who lived in the tower long ago. He survived not eating for a month and even cut his own flesh to feed his companions. These people became his anointed ones who spread the master's message of distributing the food fairly. Robespierre believes in achieving this, even if it means through violence. The lights turn off, marking the end of the platform's journey. Zamyatin wonders about eating Robespierre's deceased companion, but the man asserts that eating humans is forbidden, so he throws the woman's body down the hole. Unbeknownst to them, when she hits the bottom, something picks off her flesh. The following day, Zamyatin finally gets his pizza. To their surprise, Robespierre throws the meals of the deceased down the toilet and orders the residents to do the same in the coming days. This is so that no one benefits from murder. He then carries the man from 21 onto the platform so they can begin their journey. In the next days, Zamyatin and Perempuan eat their meals and discard the dishes of the fallen, though the man takes bites before doing so. Soon, the two form a bond and even share their food while Perempuan draws a mural on the wall. On the last day of the month, she asks Zamyatin to add something to her art. He refuses since he's more into mathematics. That was until the idea of an imaginary number destroyed his worldview. He concluded that if people accept something imaginary as a solution, then he couldn't trust mathematics anymore. This was why he left his job and family. Their conversations interrupted when the people below celebrate that the food reached 175. To celebrate, Perempuan invites her companion to dance. The next day, however, they wake up at level 180. The people around them also panic at their placements, more so when their communication is cut at level 169, where the residents refuse to cooperate with the law. Few also report that their companions are new, indicating that many residents died last month. Perempuan reminds them that they were also new last month, yet they learned law. However, Zamyatin reminds her that they were in 24, which made things easier. Eventually, the platform reaches them and there's nothing to eat. As the days go on, starvation gets to Perempuan and Zamyatin. Hunger soon maddens the man, who burns himself with his lighter. Perempuan stops him from harming himself, but the man's health worsens as he throws up. Suddenly, a decapitated head passes them. The others declare this as a sign that the anointed ones have begun eliminating the barbarians. During this, Zamyatin starts coughing up blood, so Perempuan carries him to his bed. She tends to him in the next few days as food still doesn't reach them. The anointed ones continue to descend to eliminate the greedy, and soon, the people above them report that there are only the residents of 169 and 168 left to eliminate. However, the anointed ones need help in identifying other barbarians. Among them is someone previously in 24 who ate the meals of the deceased. Perempuan gets nervous, knowing that they're talking about Zamyatin. Still, she assures her companion that no one will know what he did. To prove her loyalty to him, Perempuan lays beside Zamyatin in his bed. As they sleep, Zamyatin recalls his interview, wherein his assessor wasn't fooled by his lies. Instead, they knew that he was a school dropout who failed in many business ventures, leading to his wife and kids abandoning him. He ended up with his parents, but even they couldn't stand him, so they sent him to the tower to discipline him. As the thoughts consume him, Zamyatin wonders if his life is even worth it. Perempuan wakes up and approaches him worriedly, but Zamyatin yells at her, asserting that he won't let her get dragged along with him. With that, he asks her to tell his kids that he loved them before setting himself on fire. Perempuan can only cry as the man falls into the hole in a blaze. Residents from the lower levels are awakened by this. In an act of madness, they start discarding their items, even catching some of the embers to burn their beds. In one of the lowest levels, a blind man leads his armed companions. Finally, Zamyatin's body falls onto the lowest level where dozens of emaciated people await. Perempuan's third month arrives, and she wakes up in level 51 with a new companion, Sahabat, who's missing an arm. Figuring that she's a newcomer, Perempuan tells Sahabat the law. Soon, the platform arrives, though most food has been half-eaten. The people above report that two newcomers refuse to abide by the law. With no choice, Perempuan and Sahabat take their half-eaten meals. Later, the others report that a man from 54 has attacked his companion, revealing that he's a barbarian. With this, the men from 52 plan to deal with him tomorrow. Perempuan volunteers to join, but they refuse since the 4 people immediately above the barbarian should be the ones to deal with them. As Sahabat gets concerned, Perempuan shares that her previous companion died because of barbarians. Sahabat sympathizes with her, assuring her that she understands the law. Despite this, Perempuan struggles to sleep, unconvinced that she can trust Sahabat. She also hallucinates Zamyatin, who points up. To Perempuan's surprise, it's already morning and a falling head passes them. The ones above cheer that the anointed ones leading the fight is Daging Babi, who's known to be ruthless to barbarians. The platform soon arrives, and suddenly, Sahabat breaks her bed frame to get bars as weapons. She tosses one to Perempuan, urging her not to let the lawbreakers escape justice. With that, both women descend with the platform, much to the surprise of the men in 52. They argue that they might break the chain of communication to those above, but Perempuan insists that people 3 levels apart can still communicate. Unconvinced, one of the men decides to stay to maintain the chain of communication. This leaves his companion to join the women. Residents from 53 join them, and they descend to 54 where they're immediately attacked. The barbarian kills the man from 53 and even overpowers the man from 52. With only the women left, they corner the barbarian. However, the man leaps onto the descending platform to escape. Sahabat chases him, but he also overpowers her, so Perempuan drops to save her. A man from 55 helps as Perempuan tends to her wounded companion. However, the barbarian defeats his opponent, so Perempuan beats him. The man begs for mercy, arguing that he's been stuck there for over a year and a half. He defends that he needs to eat everything to survive, just like what everyone else is doing. This makes Perempuan hesitate, allowing the barbarian to escape via the platform again. Sahabat tries to follow, but her companion stops her. Given her desperation, Perempuan realizes that Sahabat isn't a newcomer after all. The two spend the night at 55, where the lone survivor of the level sleeps. Sahabat admits that she's been there for 6 months. Her first companion, Kekasi, taught her the law and they abided by it. However, one day, they discovered a young man who was starving to death. They decided to give him the dishes of the deceased, but Daging Babi punished them. Kekasi fought back and gouged his eyes, so Daging Babi sent her to the lower levels where she was eaten alive. Perempuan assures Sahabat that not all anointed ones are ruthless. She promises that they just have to survive until they are released. However, Sahabat believes that no one ever leaves alive. Instead, they need to escape. In a hushed voice, Sahabat points out that at the end of every month, a sleeping gas ensures that they're unconscious when transferred, and so they have to descend to the lower levels to find something to save them from the gas and escape during the transfer. The next day, a barbarian is punished by being hoisted over the hole and dismembered. This means that Daging Babi and his followers are riding the platform. Frightened, Perempuan and Sahabat arm themselves. The platform soon reaches them, along with Daging Babi and his people. The man acknowledges that the ladies helped fight the barbarian from 54 yesterday, so his people reward them with their dishes along with wine. After their meal, however, the people restrain the women, along with the men from 52 who are apparently with them. Daging Babi scolds the women for getting involved in a fight that isn't theirs, and the men for not stopping them. The one who stayed in 52 defends that he tried to stop them and stayed on his level to ensure the communication wouldn't be broken. For this, Daging Babi promises to let him have wine tomorrow with his last meal. Afterward, he'll be executed for not fulfilling his duty and for not stopping the ladies. His companion, who joined the women yesterday, is sentenced to lose an arm, while the woman from 53 is pardoned since she didn't know what happened. Perempuan is also sentenced to lose an arm. She argues that he shouldn't punish those who protected the law, but Daging Babi counters that enacting their version of the law is one step towards breaking it. He then faces Sahabat, whom he recognizes from her first offense. Given this, he sentences her to suffer as Kekasi did. As the women cry, Daging Babi asserts that the law isn't arbitrary, so they can build a future where everyone will treat each other fairly, even if this means using violence. Just then, the survivor of 55 mentions that Sahabat plans to escape, having heard the women talk about eating a dog to do it. This makes the others laugh, while Daging Babi assures the man that he did well in telling them. The next day, Perempuan and the man from 52 have their arms crushed by the platform. Sahabat is then strapped to the platform to be offered to the hungry. During this, the children at the pyramid start fighting for for their turn on the slide. Soon, Parampuan wakes up in the new month in 72, accompanied by a newcomer, Trimagasi. Angered by the previous events, Parampuan decides not to communicate with the loyalists, telling her companion to do the same. She learns that Trimagasi's item is a knife, claiming that it's to slice the bread he ordered. As she stares at it, she recalls Sahabat's plan to go down until they reach the drowning dog. When the platform arrives, Trimagasi consumes whatever he wants, drawing anger from the people above. They then shift their anger to Parampuan when she rides the platform. Knowing that the loyalists will report him, she invites Trimagasi to join her, which he accepts. In their descent, Parampuan invites others in her cause to fight the loyalists. At 74, loyalists castigate them for breaking the law. However, Parampuan argues that no one should restrict their freedom. This makes them hesitate long enough to allow them to descend. More and more people join Parampuan, with the man from 73 preaching how the loyalists only want to control them. The previous barbarian from 54, who apparently survived, also joins them. One man, Baharat, argues that their freedom is at the top, not below. Still, they continue their descent, wreaking havoc against the loyalists. When they reach level 93, Parampuan finally sees what Sahabat meant, a painting of a drowning dog. She tells the rest to alight the platform here as she approaches the painting, which was made by renowned artist Francisco Goya. That night, the group works on their weapons using broken shards of plates from the platform, all while celebrating their freedom. In the morning, however, plates start falling from above, indicating that Dagin Bobby is coming. Above them, loyalists discard food meant for the rebels down the toilets. To the rebels' surprise, the platform soon arrives empty, with Dagin Bobby and his people staying above. The man declares that for the rest of the month, they'll receive nothing. Once they're starved, only then will the loyalists fight them. The rebels argue that those below will also starve, but Dagin Bobby is willing to make that sacrifice. Their only chance is if they surrender the leaders of this rebellion. A few are willing to surrender, but most refuse. This sparks a fight among them, ending with some abandoning the rebellion by descending the platform. As those who remain panic, Trimagasi offers a solution, heading down the lower levels and eating the remaining loyalists there. The rebels laugh and threaten Dagin Bobby with this. Hearing this, Parampuan looks back to her interview. She told her assessor, Imogwiri, that she was an artist. One day, her boyfriend brought his son to an exhibit about animal cruelty. She participated in this exhibit, and her work was a sculpture of a beastly dog with sharp blades for claws. The others warned her against her dangerous sculpture, but she refused to contain her art. Because of this, when her boyfriend's son started running around, her sculpture stabbed and killed him. Her lawyers convinced the judge that it was an accident, and her notoriety turned her into one of the most valued artists of her generation, even managing to sell her dog sculpture. Still, she hasn't forgiven herself for the boy's death. As days go on, the rebels enact their plan, descending into the lower levels to eat the loyalists. Parampuan refuses to partake at first, but soon, she's too weak to even refuse the meat. However, she discovers that the meat came from Robespierre. The image of his corpse reminds her of those who died during her stay. On the last day of the month, the rebels prepare to fight the loyalists. To their surprise, the platform arrives with a fort made out of mattresses. The loyalists use this as a distraction before beginning their attack. A bloody battle ensues. During the confusion, Trimagasi accidentally stabs a woman he'd gotten close to, making him stop and hide for safety. Meanwhile, a conflicted Parampuan crawls to safety. Seeing this, the wounded barbarian from 54 corners and chokes her for cowering away. Luckily, Trimagasi is nearby and hands her his knife, allowing her to stab the man. Parampuan then hides under the bed until the platform descends, marking the end of the battle. Parampuan and Trimagasi are left to find that Dagin Bobby is still alive. He dares the woman to end him, but she decides to keep him alive by feeding him his own meat. Ultimately, she decides not to, as torture isn't her desire. That night, Parampuan and Trimagasi clean their level by throwing out the dead, including Dagin Bobby. She decides to proceed with her plans tonight, inviting her companion to join. He refuses since he's already had the best month of his life. With this, Parampuan takes a piece of the dog painting and eats it. As Sahabat expected, Parampuan's mouth foams when the sleeping gas is released, with a mixture from the painting's chemicals causing her to appear poisoned. Elsewhere, the children's battle has ended, with one boy reaching the top. Because of this, Miharu arrives and takes the child away. Not long after, Perempuan wakes up to find herself tied to the corpses. To her surprise, everything floats as if gravity has been turned off. Many workers in full-body suits clean up and prepare the residents in their new levels, while Perempuan realizes that they're being taken downwards. Upon reaching level 333, the workers leave the bodies, allowing Perempuan to untangle herself. She hides under a bed to watch them place the chosen boy from the pyramid on the opposite bed. Finally, the dead are discarded into the dark pit below and the workers leave. Perempuan sees her opportunity to escape. However, as she stares at the boy, she remembers the one she accidentally killed. Driven for redemption, she pushes herself towards the boy, only to hit her head on his bed. Despite the wound, Perempuan releases the boy and lifts him, knocking herself against the ceiling in the process. She starts to hallucinate the master and the dead, urging her to join them. She then sees herself descending on the platform with the boy, reaching the dark pits below. There, she is greeted by the emaciated victims of the tower. One of them declares that this is the end of her journey, but the boy can still have a chance. With this, Perempuan joins the victims while the platform ascends with a sleeping boy. Perempuan then joins the dead, along with her former comrades. As the program continues, many also reach this point, either by dying from their fights or by saving one innocent life. Despite their sacrifices, however, more victims just succumb to the pit. Months after Perempuan's journey, Goreng saves Miharu's daughter after she's chosen. As he reaches the bottom pit, Trimagasi, who used to be his cellmate, is the one who urges him to save the girl, hoping that her survival will stop the madness. After the platform raises, Perempuan approaches Goreng, who recognizes her. Despite reuniting in death, this allows them closure and forgiveness for the death of Goreng's son.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.